To enter the Tao and experience enlightenment is to answer the question, what was your original face before your mother and father were born? What is immortality? Is the promise of everlasting life merely an illusion created to shield you from the truth about death? Or is there proof that immortality is real? What secrets are hidden in spiritual traditions about life after death? You can achieve the ultimate dream. You can unlock the secret to who you really are. You can open the hidden door to discover the genius within you. You can achieve enlightenment and realize your ultimate potential. For thousands of years, the spiritual quest of the human race has been to discover the true self, the eternal light of the Kundalini. At last, from the wisdom of enlightened teachers, you will discover your true nature, which is far more powerful than you have ever imagined. You will experience total inner illumination.
The ordinary reality, everyday stuff that we go through, good, bad, or indifferent, right, is of extreme value. It's like gold. It is jewels, right? But only through spiritual practice do you develop the sensitivity, which is actually innate. So it's more like bringing out the sensitivity. To know that this moment is the only moment you're going to get, and it's going to be wide open, luminous, and blissful.
You have the ability to master spiritual alchemy and achieve enlightenment. Early historical records show that man has searched almost endlessly for the secret of immortality. The first people who studied the natural world around them became known as alchemists. They experimented with animals, plants, and minerals. Their work and observations eventually led to the creation of chemistry, physics, and medicine. Eastern alchemists searched for immortality through the study of meditation, yoga, and the martial arts. They believed immortality could be achieved by recreating conception within their own bodies through diligent practice. Many Western alchemists believed there was a secret formula that could turn base metals into gold. This philosopher's stone was also thought to be an elixir of immortality that could rejuvenate the body. They believed if it could turn a corruptible metal to incorruptible gold, it would certainly be able to transform human beings from mortals to immortals. The goal of the early alchemists was described in Latin as finding the secret method to unite the soul, called the anima, with the spiritus or spirit within the corpus or physical body. This is believed to represent the original Trinity, which underlies Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, and many other ancient alchemical sciences. Every human being has the potential to fully master spiritual alchemy.
Because if you only learn the practice that gives you enlightenment, how are you going to enlighten other people who might be different from you, right?
The Kundalini is the enlightened energy within you waiting to be awakened. The search that spanned the centuries and covered the earth eventually centered around inner alchemy and the attainment of immortality through the activation of a hidden power known as Kundalini. Kundalini is a dormant, enlightened energy which resides within the lower torso of the human body and is activated through yogic practice or meditation, and results in enlightenment, inner illumination, and immortality. Many of the legendary figures of antiquity, including Buddha and Jesus, were successful spiritual alchemists who believed in the spark of light within human beings. Jesus confirmed this when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." When Buddha spoke of the middle path to achieve nirvana, he may have been describing the central channel of the body through which the Kundalini energy travels. China, India, and Tibet are all civilizations which are based on the complete evolution of consciousness being achieved through a Kundalini activation. A Kundalini activation, particularly if achieved through the practice of sexual yoga, represented the ultimate threat to the religious establishment because it enabled the human being to achieve enlightenment, which freed that person from the control of the religious authority of the time. The philosopher's stone was linked with magic and with early religions, and was greatly feared by the church because it linked human sexuality or sexual yoga with higher consciousness or enlightenment. The basic theory of the philosopher's stone is in the process of being rediscovered by science because it represents the reality of the ability of the individual to unite the energy of the body with the energy of the universe. In the Hermetic tradition of alchemy, this was called squaring the circle.
People have striven for centuries to find out about how to get back to their primordial energy. Some people have, of course, clicked into those states almost spontaneously, and have been astonished at what's possible, and then have tried to find ways to get us all, or at least some disciples, to move into those patterns of energy, those patterns of the body-mind complex that are, for most people, even hard to conceive of.
There are descriptions of the power of the Kundalini experience in the esoteric teachings of China, India, Tibet, Egypt, Africa, and the Americas. The Kundalini has been described in the Bible as the solar principle in man, and is the basis of the secret teachings of Gnostic Christianity, the Kabbalah, and the Hermetic tradition of alchemy. In the I Ching, the Book of Changes, the oldest sacred text of China, it is called the original spirit. In the East, the philosopher's stone or Buddhahood is a complete Kundalini activation, in which the meditator sees a golden embryonic version of himself at the time of enlightenment. This genetic blueprint, which is created at the time of a person's conception, is dormant in the lower torso until it is fully awakened by activating the original Qi. When you successfully cultivate the original Qi of your body and fully open the energy meridians, your own Qi unites with the Qi of the universe. Can you hold the body and spirit as one? Concentrating your Qi and becoming pliant, can you become like a newborn baby? Clearing your mind and contemplating the profound, can you remain unknown? In understanding all things, can you remain detached? In Indian yoga scriptures, the Kundalini was illustrated as a golden serpent coiled within the body to describe the potential power of its energy and awakening. And the serpent swallowing its tail is the oldest known symbol of alchemical knowledge. You have the potential to achieve Buddhahood. You can become enlightened. You can discover your true power if you fully open the energy meridians of the body. When you see your original face, when you fully activate the Kundalini within your body, this has been described as union with God in all the theistic traditions. True success in activating the Kundalini is dependent on finding the secret of the real spiritual gold within yourself through meditation and other mental and physical practices. Kundalini yoga theory is based on the concept that there is a tremendous reservoir of stored energy within the lower torso of the body. When this energy is fully activated and raised to the top of the head, it results in enlightenment or immortality, and this is the most ancient secret of yoga. What many alchemists throughout the world have called the legendary golden elixir is actually the fully activated starting point of the body. In its most complete form, it is the realization of Buddhahood, or the attainment of immortality, which results in permanent, deathless consciousness. It is this recreation of conception that has the potential to transform a normal person into a fully enlightened being that has transcended birth, death, space, and time. Buddha succeeded in awakening the Kundalini energy within himself. At that moment, he saw his original face dissolve into emptiness. From this golden vision, he created the basic philosophy of spiritual freedom that has benefited humanity throughout the world for thousands of years. The word Buddha means awake. When asked, "Are you a man or a god?" the Buddha is said to have replied, "I am awake." The ancient Chinese medical system describes the starting point of the body as a spark of light from the beginning of time. It is midway between your navel and your spine. It exists within everyone and is created at the time of conception. This point of light has been described as the face of God, and alchemists called it the prima materia, the first matter.
Milarepa has a great line in one of his teachings. Milarepa was this Tibetan master that I wrote my doctoral dissertation about. He appeared to me once, too, by the way, in a dream. He says, the best realization of openness is right in the center of your body, in the avaduti, in the central channel, all right? This means that all of those energies of the bindus, the elements of consciousness moving through your body, should move into that open space. And what seems to be a confined place around the heart chakra is actually the place where the whole universe opens out, right? To realization, to enlightenment. So all of the things that we talk about, the bindus, the channels, the drops, all of that kind of stuff, these esoteric teachings about the subtle body, you might say our accompanying subtle body that goes with this gross material body, working with those energies allows you to loosen up the entire physical, electronic, chemical, and mental aspects of the human person. How does a Milarepa become the model of a civilization? And of course what we've been talking about here is the fully awakened, enlightened, the fully realized Buddha is the model. And so a person like Milarepa, who did become a fully awakened, enlightened Buddha, right, was totally available to people and animals and phenomena throughout the universe. That is the ideal. That is the archetype. That is the model for whatever you're doing. So that whatever you're doing, even if it is building a principality, as in fact Milarepa's guru, Marpa, did. He built himself a principality. But while he was building the principality, he developed himself as a Buddha as well. And he handed on to Milarepa, who in a different form, in the form of a hermit, in the form of an ascetic, also manifested the same Buddha nature. All right? So that suddenly becomes the basis out of which you can weave an entire civilization. All right? And that is the thing that I think we're missing. We're missing the civilization that emerges out of the cave where a person goes to meditate, out of the hermitage where a person discovers the fullness of being itself through spiritual practice. What's the natural state? The natural state is this complete openness so that your mind and body are completely open to something much greater than what we are, all right? And yet it's not separate from what we are. It's one of those things that goes beyond words, but once you've seen it, and once you've touched human beings who live that all the time, you'll never forget it.
Am I a man dreaming I am a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly dreaming I am a man? One of the most ancient Tibetan spiritual practices is called dream yoga. Dream yoga is known to be one of the primary practices of the legendary 6 yogas of Naropa. Imagine, as you are watching right now, that you are actually dreaming. What is it that makes you think that you are awake right now? How can you be certain if you are dreaming or if you are awake? What if you learn to control your own dreams? You can do this with the practice of dream yoga, an ancient method used by Mahasiddhas and immortals. Dreams can be so powerful that they can change the world. Artists, writers, scientists, and inventors have all been inspired by dreams. Solutions to complex problems have been made clear within dreams. Dreams also occur outside of three-dimensional space and time and can reveal the future. Padmasambhava in 8th century Tibet described a dream where he saw a future time in which the iron bird flies and horses run on wheels, and the Tibetan people were scattered around the earth, and the Dharma came to the land of the red man. He was clearly seeing the world as it became in the 20th century. Many of the great scientific discoveries are the result of parallel probable versions of the scientists communicating within dreams according to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. As you are watching right now, there are multiple parallel, probable, and alternate versions of yourself doing the same thing simultaneously in multiple dimensions. To control the dreams while you are dreaming enables you to access creative information that can completely transform your experience of reality. And to have what is known as a lucid dream is to understand your waking life is also a part of your personal dreamscape. During the course of the day, it is necessary to ask yourself repeatedly, is this a dream? To discover your true self while in a lucid dream, go to a mirror and embrace the image of yourself that you see there. Lucid dreaming is a metaphor for enlightenment. To realize you are dreaming while you are dreaming represents the ability of each human being to realize that their own perception is dreamlike, and to achieve greater and greater levels of awakening through their own spiritual practices. One of the primary ways of realizing that you are dreaming while you are dreaming is to recognize an incongruity within the dream. To realize that you are flying, you are walking on water, that because you are walking through a wall, that this means that this is a dream because you could not possibly be doing this in three-dimensional reality. The goal of dream yoga is to discover who you really are. So to see a golden embryonic version of yourself within your dreams through a complete Kundalini activation represents complete self-discovery and ultimate enlightenment.
Now, there are certain prayers and practices also that the Tibetans give for how to position your body when you sleep so that the channels are in the proper position, so that you're breathing properly. Also, they give a number of prayers that can be said. And I say one of these prayers from time to time about being able to see dreams as lucid and also to recognize the awake state as dreamlike in some ways. Because this way you see through, right? You see through the patterns of energy, all right? Doesn't mean that they're not there. It means that you see through them. You see their qualities and the woven quality of all phenomena.
It is the dream of enlightenment which makes achieving immortality possible. The deepest level of our dreams has always been enlightenment.
That's a great blessing. And these are the kinds of things that the lamas, the tradition of dream yoga really is a wonderful gift, because then you can use your nocturnal experience as part of your practice. And it goes right along with what I was saying about everything being an oblation, everything being an offering. Because if you waste, your valuable sleep time, right, you're losing several hours of practice every day. But if you turn sleep into a practice, then you're practicing all the time. And so your body at all times is engaged in some kind of spiritual activity. Pretty good thing.
To know others is wisdom, but to master oneself is enlightenment. Those who conquer others require great strength, but to conquer oneself requires true power. You can enter the Tao through the true mastery of martial arts. The traditional goal of higher martial arts in China has always been to enter the Tao, which is the achievement of enlightenment, seeing your original face, or successfully cultivating the spiritual embryo which transforms you into an immortal. So traditionally, the greatest martial artists reach this ultimate level, in which you unite the energy of the body with the energy of the Tao and actually become a living Buddha. The secret of martial arts is a Kundalini activation, which results in the enlightened warrior seeing his original face and achieving inner illumination. The master martial artist actually unites the microcosm of the body with the macrocosm of the universe, and in doing so discovers the holographic nature of reality. This process unites the mind of the individual with a universal mind. Bodhidharma, the founder of Zen Buddhism, is the most well-known and respected Buddhist teacher in East Asia. In the 5th century, he traveled from India to China to teach the monks of the Shaolin Temple. It was there that he created Shaolin martial arts, a method of self-defense which included meditation and enlightenment. Bodhidharma taught there was no enlightenment outside of the mind, and that the mind is enlightenment itself. Enlightenment is not just an awakening of the mind, it is a physical process as well. Many of the greatest teachers of wisdom have activated the original mind using the source energy of their bodies. This experience is called seeing your original face or returning the original spirit to void. The Tao is based on the unity of the essential triad of heaven, earth, and humanity. The ideal of the Shaolin Temple is to enter the way by mastering meditation and qi cultivation as well as martial arts. The creation of Tai Chi is based on the 1,000-year-old story in which the founder, Shang Sanfeng, observed an epic battle between a crane and a snake. He watched intently as the bird fiercely attacked the snake again and again. With each attempt of the bird to kill the snake, the serpent's agility, yielding and flowing movements enabled it to survive. The crane used its speed and mobility to avoid the snake's counterattacks and also remained unharmed. Shang Sanfang is also said to have had a dream the following night in which he was visited by the legendary god of war, Quan Ti. Quan Ti taught him the methods of celestial martial arts and the alchemical secret of the golden embryo. Shang Sanfang combined these lessons with a style of fighting based on the movements he observed of the crane and the snake. This method relies upon internal power, or qi, and is based on the principle that yielding overcomes aggression and softness overpowers hardness. Shang Sanfang called it Tai Chi Chuan, or the Supreme Ultimate Fist. The highest level of martial arts is based on the enlightened warrior seeing his original face and successfully cultivating the spiritual embryo. This has the potential of transforming an individual into an immortal or a living Buddha. Many of the greatest Chinese martial artists actually achieved this level of enlightenment and used their incredible skills and power to protect and benefit their people. A major aspect of Chinese martial arts is the transformation of your three inner treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen, within the body. Often translated as reproductive energy, vital bodily energy, and mind and spirit, they are the most important aspect of internal power development. Their complete refinement results in the spiritual embryo and immortality, a permanent state of enlightened consciousness that is not limited by the physical body and even exists after death. Complete mastery of the sword has always been a metaphor for enlightenment. The true sword represents the enlightened mind, and the enlightened mind represents discovering who you truly are by seeing your original face. Mastery of the sword is based on the concept that it is possible to enter the Tao and realize complete inner illumination by combining meditation and Qi cultivation with a martial arts practice. The legendary alchemist and founder of Tai Chi, Shang Sanfang, said, "The Tao is something miraculous. It is empty and has no form, yet it has an essence. It is hard to understand and exists like a shadow or an echo. No one knows why this is. Great spiritual warriors have attained the Tao in the past, and it is transmitted in the present by mysterious and subtle ways. The great Tao has the power to transform both the body and the spirit. In this way, the body is transformed, united with spirit. One who has attained this is called a spiritual warrior." The Shen or spirit is fluid and ever-changing, though its primal substance is unchanging. Once the warrior has entered the Tao, he no longer fears birth or death. In this way, the body is the same as spirit or Shen. Once revealed, the spirit is the same as chi or vital energy. This is how the warrior is able to move through water or fire without being harmed and to cast no shadow, whether in the sunlight or moonlight. At this point, whether to remain in the body or not is entirely up to you. At this stage, there is no difference between being in the world and being out of it. If the body, being material, can achieve these levels of subtle integration, how much more so can the Shen or spirit reach even deeper and further? It is said, when the spirit and body are united, they become the true body, because when the body and spirit unite as one, they live forever. However, there are differences in the depth of power the warrior may attain. If his spiritual power is deep and profound, this will affect his body as well. If it is small and shallow, it only affects the mind. One whose body and spirit are united is an immortal warrior, while one whose mind only is affected cannot escape death. In this way, we see that the Tao is difficult to master, but if one can fully enter the Tao, he achieves what is called leaving no body. The warrior hides his light and conceals his brilliance. This is how one attains the Tao. By stabilizing the spirit and cultivating their chi, they study the Tao without ceasing. When their spirit merges with the Tao, it is called entering the Tao. It is said that those who enter the Tao are themselves absorbed by the Tao. If people will cultivate the Tao, their bodies will be strong. By cultivating the Tao for a long time, one can transform substance to spirit, refine their body into subtle energy, and merge with the Tao. Then their knowledge is boundless, and their physical body is transcended. This is the power of the Tao.
Now, speaking for a moment from the Tibetan point of view, right, or the tantric point of view, it's not enough just to fall in love, to give yourself to family life, to raise children. There is another way of seeing all of that, because as we know, family life, raising children, being responsible for your family can be a tremendous attachment. And every spiritual tradition has warnings about sex, family, relatives, money, houses, and all of those other things as becoming obstacles on the spiritual path. So it's almost as if by claiming that sexuality in some way is a way to get enlightenment is like telling people, go down that road that's just full of potholes and boulders and stray pieces of metal, and you're going to attain enlightenment. You know, but the beauty of the tantric system is that it takes life as it is and sees something sacred, something wise, something liberating in the potholes and the iron chunks and the boulders and the broken roads and the earthquakes and everything else that occur.
There is an ancient tantric saying that Buddhahood can be found in the vagina of a woman. One of the oldest methods of fully activating the Kundalini and recreating conception within the body is through the practice of sexual yoga. Many couples in China, India, and Tibet have achieved enlightenment together in this manner. The central teaching in tantric yoga is that all of life is sacred, especially sexuality. This is because Tantrism views the reproductive energy of our body as being the same inner energy that powers our enlightenment. The practitioner of sexual tantra attempts to use the energy of conception as an agent for awakening and transcendence. Complete awakening results in a normal person becoming a fully enlightened and realized human being. This enables the individual to transcend birth, death, space, and time. The 6 Yogas of Naropa is a classical collection of techniques from India which will result in Buddhahood or complete enlightenment when fully mastered. Many of these methods were transmitted by Mahasiddhas, who are often couples that achieved enlightenment through the practice of sexual yoga. The famous saying that Buddhahood can be found in the vagina of a woman refers to an ancient tradition of sexual yoga that results in complete awakening. The full potential of activating the original reproductive energy of the human body transforms a normal person into an enlightened immortal. Many of these lineages go back to famous Mahasiddhas like Padmasambhava. Padmasambhava is known to have said that more women than men would achieve tantric enlightenment because of their devotion to practice.
The tantras are sometimes revealed, both the Hindu tantras and the Buddhist tantras, in exactly the terms that you gave, that enlightenment is found inside or abiding within the bhaga, within the womb, within the vagina. To open out to the state of wholeness and completeness, which we can call openness, we can call shunyata, we can call emptiness, we can call voidness. There are many ways of describing it. I like the word openness because it has that quality of the unbounded. So that this vaginal phenomenon is a way of saying that at the same time, this experience is completely open, completely pleasurable, indeed orgasmic, right, and luminous, right? Those are the 3 characteristics of the enlightened state in the Tibetan tantric system, right? Openness, luminosity, and pleasure. And that is something that we keep coming across in text after text after text. What is experienced is that. A person rediscovers what you were saying as the original face, right? The original primordial embryo of who we are, the very basis of our existence. So that the Tantras also talk about the mother and the son reuniting together, the white drop and the red drop joining together, a symbol, of course, of conception itself. So that the imagery of sexuality is in there because that's part of it, and that's a key to a lot of human experience. But there's sexuality going on in every cell of your body right now. The light of the sun being in your heart through meditation, and then spontaneously forming a conflagration in every single cell of your body, right? That is the kind of thing that we're talking about. Right, so that the joining of the 2 sides of the double helix of DNA inside the nucleus of every cell is living that sexual bliss in every moment as it produces the proteins that keep you alive. If you're a Buddha, you see every particle of time and matter and energy continually generating, as it were, in a sexual, reproductive way, all the phenomena of existence at all times. You're living a blissful, highly energetic kind of life.
From a Tibetan perspective, the difference between Buddhas and ordinary individuals is merely a question of diligent practice.
These Tibetan teachers that have spoken with some reluctance about sexual yoga, in every case that I have personally encountered, it has always been about something to do with families, and really elite families, preserving very special traditions within that family, within the customs and the beliefs of that family.
Many traditions believe that if the energy meridians of the body are fully opened, the individual will inevitably achieve complete realization. The Kundalini experience activates the starting point of the body and results in the ultimate realization of a person's potential. This is a discovery in which the entire universe is found to exist within the mind. One of the most famous sayings in Tibet is, "There can be no Mahamudra, which is enlightenment, without Karma Mudra, sexual yoga." Although the majority of Buddhist monks are celibate, the tradition of the Mahasiddhas believed that the Buddha may have achieved enlightenment through the practice of sexual yoga because Mahamudra, which is complete enlightenment, can only be achieved through Karma Mudra, which is sexual yoga.
In other words, the apparent peace and almost stasis of a Buddha image does not really adequately reflect the dance of phenomena that is truly at the heart of enlightenment.
The complete potential of fully harnessing and activating the original reproductive or sexual energy of the body is one in which the human being transforms into a Buddha or an immortal. The ability to activate the Kundalini with sex requires strict adherence to precise techniques combined with specialized breathing methods. The reason that Western couples are not achieving enlightenment through the practice of sexual yoga is that they are not aware of the authentic methods, and they haven't activated the pre-birth energy. The energy of the body between the time of conception and birth within everyone is enlightened and is connected to the void or the Tao. The goal of inner alchemical practices that use sexual yoga is to recreate conception by uniting the yin and yang subtle bodies. Tantric Buddhahood transforms a normal human being into an enlightened immortal. Ancient Chinese medicine also used the transformation of the reproductive energy of the body to enable an adept to achieve immortality through successful inner alchemical practice that used the complete activation of the starting point of the body. This tradition goes back to the time of the Yellow Emperor, who is said to have created the Chinese medical tradition. In Tibet, the union of the Trikaya, or three bodies, using sexual yoga is known to result in tantric enlightenment. These systems are based on the concept that the pre-birth energy of the body, the energy system that is created between the time of conception and birth, is enlightened and is connected to the void or Tao. This energy lies dormant in a normal person. In many yogic systems, the final process that transforms a human being into an immortal or living Buddha is a sexual yoga practice that results in full Kundalini activation. The goal of all these traditions is to create the spiritual embryo, or embryo of Buddhahood.
Well, of course, I'm talking in some ways as a Christian, and for a Christian, love is everything. God is love. So if people are experiencing a loving relationship through sexuality, all right, they're going to be changed by that, and they're going to attain enlightenment. If you study with someone like Namkhai Norbu, for example, he'll make a very clear distinction between tantric methods of attainment and Dzogchen methods. All right, he'll even distinguish Dzogchen, which sometimes sounds like Zen to some of us. He'll distinguish it from Zen. So he'll notice these things. How? Because he's been through this stuff. You see, he knows it from his own inner experience. So he can make those distinctions very clearly. All right? Those of us who are not yet as highly realized as Namkhai Norbu are walking on thin ice if we try to make too many distinctions without rooting it in our own inner experience.
In both China and Tibet, it is well known that the most advanced spiritual practitioners leave no bodies after the time of death, and this represents the achievement of whole body enlightenment. Padmasambhava was a legendary Mahasiddha, considered to be the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. The lineage that he started in the 8th century has a particular phenomenon known as the body of light associated with it, in which, when the meditator dies, his physical body shrinks away to nothing within a few days. Practitioners of the primordial yoga system originally transmitted by Padmasambhava continue to experience the post-mortem dissolution of the body in modern times. Ramalinga in India, Jesus of Nazareth, and the Yellow Emperor in China are all believed to have left no bodies upon their deaths. Enlightenment without remainder may be the basis of ascension stories throughout history. Chinese legends say, when a great master achieves immortality, he casts no shadow, he appears and disappears at will, and ascends to heaven in broad daylight.
One of the things that happens when a great teacher dies is that there are often phenomena, things that impress their disciples as to the degree of holiness of that person. And so in some of the Tibetan traditions, there is a phenomenon, let's put it that way, that is called the rainbow body, in which the body of the deceased manifests light phenomena after death. Often it takes the form of rainbows in the sky. You're talking about the body that begins to dissolve its material substance into light, into light, into light, into light.
In 1998, an often repeated story emerged once again from a village in the remote Kham region of eastern Tibet. It is said that a rainbow appeared one day above the cabin of Khenpo Achos, a devout Lama who had continued to practice and teach Buddhism despite the severe restrictions of the Chinese government. He was in his 80s but not sick. Nevertheless, he lay down on his bed, began reciting the Tibetan mantra Om Mani Padme Om. Shortly after, the nuns, monks, and others who studied with him began the Tibetan Buddhist prayers that accompany death. They noticed that Khenpo Achos's skin began to turn soft and pinkish. His students hurried to another Lama to ask about this, and he told them to cover the body and continue their prayers. They placed a thin yellow monk's cloak over him, and as the days passed, they saw his body was shrinking. By the end of the week, the students reported, nothing remained. Khenpo Achos had apparently become what is known in Tibetan Buddhism as a rainbow body. The story spread through Buddhist circles. Many realized that the miraculous event had implications for Christianity. They believed if we can establish as an anthropological fact that what is described in the resurrection of Jesus had not only happened to others but is happening today, it would put our view of human potential in a completely different light.
Even if we were to think of it as ultimately explainable by some form of physics that has not yet been devised or something in quantum physics, you can give all kinds of explanations, but certainly it's a paranormal phenomenon. It's not something that happens every day, and it does seem to have a connection to spiritual practice.
In China, many great sages and alchemists are also said to have left empty graves after death. In Asia, the highest level of meditation has always been known as enlightenment without remainder, in which the physical body has dissolved into pure energy.
If somebody has developed spiritually to the point where their body and mind are engaged in spiritual practice and mystical illumination habitually every microsecond of the day, it is highly likely that their body-mind complex will do unusual things at the point of death. Whether that means preserving the body from decay, as occurs in the incorruptible saints, whether it's a manifestation of stigmata, manifestation of other internal symbols on the bones or organs of the body, as has been seen in some Catholic saints, or whether it's going to be these phenomena of dissolution, shrinkage, or complete disappearance. It all depends on how that person has engaged with spiritual practice, such that everything that you are is in the process, in the practice. And I think that that's what this is all about. The spiritual practice is really about a total engagement of every last atom in your body.
The goal of life is to discover who we really are. At the highest level of meditation and yoga, we see our original face, and this enables us to enter the Tao and fully discover who we have always really been.
What we're talking about, in terms of spirituality, in terms of the body, in terms of enlightenment, is we're making the claim, along with all the great historical traditions, that the something more that we are already, the something more that we can realize in our bodies, cannot be restricted merely to a vast complex of desires which will come to an end with our last breath. Khenpo Acha, this Tibetan monk out in his little hermitage in eastern Tibet, breathing his last with the words Om Mani Padme Hum, and then dying. And then his face turns into the face of a little child, pink and more alive. than the 81-year-old man who said his final mantra.
Om mani padme hum, Om mani padme hum, Om mani padme hum.
There is something formed in chaos coming before heaven and earth, existing in the silent and tranquil void. It stands alone and unchanging. It pervades everywhere without becoming exhausted. It is the mother of heaven and earth. I do not know its name, and so call it Tao. The future of modern science is to discover the mind of the Tao. As science studies meditation and the evolution of consciousness, the basic unification of Eastern and Western paradigms of the evolution of consciousness is inevitable. Modern science will become focused on enabling human beings to achieve their complete potential, which is enlightenment. Scientists will realize that the completion stage of meditation is the primordial vision of the original face. This represents the ultimate level of human mind-body evolution.
There are hints, there are suggestions that things go on in the human body-mind complex that have not been completely explained by science, by psychology, by psychotherapy, by quantum physics, or whatever, all right? So I think we're just being invited to explore more deeply. We may actually come up with a new theory, a new paradigm.
Darwin's theory of evolution does not include the fact that the human reproductive system is perfectly designed to achieve enlightenment, and that this is actually the purpose of the evolution of consciousness. Evolutionary psychology is based on the idea that all human behavior is merely an attempt to reproduce sexually. The problem with this is that it leaves out the basic fact that the human reproductive system is perfectly designed to achieve enlightenment by unifying the pre-birth and post-birth chi of the body. This is the basis of the Chinese medical system and represents the future of science in the 21st century as the philosopher's stone is rediscovered.
It shows that the human body is a device that the universe itself has generated, enabling that enlightenment to burst upon the scene. In other words, your body, with all its aches and pains, and some people tell us, we weren't meant to stand up on two legs, and a lot of problems that have come into play because of the shape of our body and the way the organs are set up. But if you look at it from a Buddhist point of view, your body is set up so that the energy goes from the perineum, from the crotch, from the base of the spine, up through the subtle body and the material body, both in intimate union, so that it gets to the top of your head and beyond, so that you can attain enlightenment. If you were a monkey or a dog, you have some of those same structures, but they're not positioned in such a way to favor the attainment of enlightenment, right? So that you're sitting in meditation in accord with a certain set of points that highlight, accentuate, and enhance the inherent properties of a human body to attain enlightenment. So this is a little machine we've been given, all right, for attaining that high degree of consciousness. This is magnificent stuff, because then you suddenly realize, oh, even if we did evolve from so-called lower forms of life, we are also in continuity with those forms of life, such that what we attain is not just private property, but is cosmic good, cosmic benefit. And then you get immediately into the whole bodhisattva vow, the idea of doing this for the sake of all sentient beings.
There is an ancient story from China in which a famous Zen master told his student, "If you see the Buddha on the road, kill him." What is meant by this story is that your idea of the Buddha as a sacred figure to be worshipped is incorrect and is an illusion that actually is blocking your own perception of your own awareness as enlightenment and your own realization that you yourself have always been a living Buddha. The fully activated starting point of the body is your original face.
See, Dalai Lama says that very clearly, how no self, in Buddha's teaching on no self and all of that, is not about the destruction of the personality. It's a transformative process, that has to do with who you really are comes to the fore, and what you are not disappears.
Buddhahood, immortality, or enlightenment actually represent the true potential of each human being to fully awaken. This is inevitably going to be the goal of the evolution of consciousness in the 21st century. We are at the edge of time when achieving enlightenment will become a phenomenon recognized by Western science as both the completion stage of meditation and the achievement of matter, energy, and consciousness unification. When enough individuals have activated the Kundalini and seen their original face within themselves, the human race will be completely transformed. Already today, millions of people practice yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, and Qigong. The complete evolution of consciousness is the result of these mind-body arts when fully mastered. The goal of our existence is to reach our ultimate potential as fully enlightened beings. Bodhidharma said, "Our original face is the mind. The mind is our original face. This mind is the same as the mind of all Buddhas." Buddhas of the past and future merely transmit this mind. Beyond your mind, there is no Buddha anywhere, but confused people don't realize that their own mind is the Buddha. They keep searching for truth outside of themselves. Don't become lost in such illusions. Just realize that there is no Buddha outside of your own mind. Wherever you are, there is a Buddha. Your mind has always been a living Buddha. So if you see a Buddha on the road, there is no need for reverence. Just kill him because it is a false illusion. If people will cultivate the Tao, their bodies will be strong. By cultivating the Tao for a long time, one can transform substance to spirit, refine their body into subtle energy, and merge with the Tao. Then their knowledge is boundless, and their physical body is transcended. This is the power of the Tao. Speaking without speaking and moving without moving is called the profound and secret virtue. You look at it and it is not seen. It is called the formless. You listen to it and it is not heard. It is called the soundless. You grasp it and it cannot be held. It is called the intangible. The ancient sages were masters at penetrating the subtle and profound Tao. Can you hold the body and spirit as one? Concentrating your qi and becoming pliant, can you become like a newborn baby? Clearing your mind and contemplating the profound, can you remain unknown? In understanding all things, can you remain detached? The highest enlightenment is like water. Water benefits all beings, yet argues with no one. It flows in unknown places, and in this way is close to the Tao. Because the enlightened do not go against nature, they are one with the Tao. The Tao that can be put into words is not the true and eternal Tao. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used, but never exhausted. It is the fathomless source of everything. Under heaven, there is nothing more yielding and soft as water. Yet for attacking what is hard and rigid, there is nothing better. In this way, the weak can vanquish the strong, and the soft can overcome the hard. People follow the way of earth. Earth follows the way of heaven. Heaven follows the way of Tao. Tao follows its own natural way. There is something formed in chaos coming before heaven and earth, existing in the silent and tranquil void. It stands alone and unchanging. It pervades everywhere without becoming exhausted. It is the mother of heaven and earth. I do not know its name, and so call it Tao. To know others is wisdom, but to master oneself is enlightenment. Those who conquer others require great strength, but to conquer oneself requires true power.